Yeah, Lakers, GSW. I don't see them making it unless there's some kind of crazy trade that Lakers try to pray for every year that they gotta, we're looking for Zach LaVine, or maybe Cat is upset, or maybe we can, that if that's your plan, they're just waiting for LeBron to retire. They're not trying to.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today, my captain for life, Will Cotton. Cotton, man, how are you, sir?
A little colder than where you are, but still doing great.
Yes, the last of the OCP Winter Tour, as we are sitting in beautiful, spacious Rocky Mount, North Carolina. After watching SMU take on ECU, and we'll talk about that. But on today's Wind Up Wednesday edition, segment 1, all things NBA, segment 2, men's college basketball, and segment 3, women's college basketball. So let's get to it. So, Will, NBA top 10. We are in January now, firmly in January. Boston still won. No one cares about that loss. Whoop-de-doo. They got beat on the road, and people actually thought it was something, whatever. Minnesota's still 2. They are hanging around, and it's January. They're going to take somebody's spot that you like. OKC is 3. The Bucks are 4. Nice comeback from Dame. He must have heard the show.
There you go.
76ers are 5. Denver 6. The Clippers are putting it together, and they're 7, and they're throwing out money to Kawhi Leonard. Bad move. The Kings are 8. Pacers are 9, and the Cavs are 10 in the overall NBA top 10. 65 game club analysis in the East. Boston, Bucks, 76ers, Pacers, Cavs, and Knicks are your top 6 fans. Heat, Magic, Bulls, Nets, Hawks, and Raptors. They are your play-in teams, and always remember, fans, 2 teams won't make it. And finally, carrying the rear, and it is the rear, the Hornets, Wizards, and Pistons are just bad. Will, any thoughts on the East this week?
The East is just it's pretty much what it is. I mean, the last couple, 5-6 years, this is what the East has been. I mean, you have a couple changes like Magic, they're getting a little better. But the Hornets, Wizards, Pistons are just right there being bad. Just want to see if the 76ers can actually move and show that championship caliber. The 76ers are the only team of that 3 who hasn't been in the final, and only, they have MVPs, and they have great players and coaches, and, they have to get into that step. So for the 76ers, I mean, Boston and the Bucks are right on track. 76ers, I'll believe it when I see it. I know you're a great regular season team, but you haven't really done nothing in the postseason. So, but everything else looks pretty standard.
Well, my big takeaway from the East this week was the rant from the Raptors coach after the Lakers game, if I am not mistaken. In the fourth quarter, Lakers shot a lot of free throws, and let's just say the Raptors didn't. And as a coach who has somewhere in the internet a rant that I hope is buried forever, I understand frustration when things don't go your way. So kudos to whoever the coach of the Raptors is. In the West, Minnesota, OKC, Denver, Clippers are 4, Kings are 5, Mavs are 6. So there's your top 6. Now, here are your play-in teams. New Orleans, Zion's playing. Hey, franchise, I'm 1 year off on the bet. The Suns, the Jazz, the Rockets, the Lakers, and Golden State. 2 of these teams are not going to make it. And I'm not seeing the Lakers or Golden State popping into the top 6. I'm not seeing it. So it's play in or bust. And then Memphis, who are done, easy come, easy go for Ja Morant, Portland, and the Spurs. And the Spurs might get hot enough to be 9 or 10. That's actually conceivable if they play well enough, but that's a long way off. Anything this week from the West for you, Will?
Nothing was pretty much. I guess talking about that Lakers game, A lot of people talked about it. I think it was just a big mess. I mean, all the fouls and everything, and then everyone had an argument with the last play, where the I forgot who was called for a moving charge, like moving screen. I mean, and they were like, well, he was flopping, and I'm like, they probably wouldn't have called the flop in that moment, but if you're gonna do a moving screen and very blatantly in front of the ref, it's not going to look good. But that top 10 is pretty much what it's looking like in the West. Yeah, Lakers, GSW. I don't see them making it unless there's some kind of crazy trade that Lakers try to pray for every year that they gotta. Oh, we're looking for Zach LaVine, or maybe Cat is upset, or maybe we can. That if that's your plan. They're just waiting for LeBron to retire. They're not. They're not trying to.
Yeah, and I watch SC. Ronnie's got some areas of growth, but we wish him well too. So don't
Mm,
look for that package deal, teams. So
yeah.
our NBA story of the week. Absolutely, positively no class from the Chicago Bulls fan base. The Bulls celebrated, Will, their inaugural class for the organization's new Ring of Honor. Hey, welcome to the 20th century with a Ring of Honor. But with that said, and they did it during their game with Golden State, so Steve Kerr could be there. Hey, that's kind of nice to do that. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
here's who's in the first Ring of Honor class. The entire 95-96 team, which went 72-10, won an NBA championship. Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman weren't there, but Jordan Rodman sent videos. In addition, Phil Jackson, who got the loudest cheers. Artist Gilmore, my brother Rick is watching. Rock Roll Gilmore, all right. Johnny Red Kerr, Dick Klein, Tony Kukoc, Bob Love, Jerry Sloan, Chet Walker, Tex Winter, uh, and also Jerry Krause. And when Jerry Krause's name was mentioned, he was booed, and his widow was there. His widow
Mm-hmm.
Thelma's there. So I saw The Last Dance. It got everybody through the pandemic. But what does that have to do with what he did? He built that team. He paid
Mm-hmm.
he paid the checks, got 6 titles out of them, and he broke it up. It's your right to break it up. Might not agree with it, but yeah, whatever. But to boo his widow, Will, talk to me, man. That's not good, man. And did you see it? And do you have any thoughts on
I thought about it, and just like you said, everybody watched the Last Dance, and basically, like everybody said, it seemed like Last Dance was just like Jordan did everything. Everybody just piled on Jordan, and he took us to all 6 championships. And that's not what they were really trying to portray. That there really was a team. Now there was a focal point in Michael Jordan, but it was everybody. And Jordan even talked about that. And I think we weren't, there's a lot of fanboys who, instead of being fan of the teams, they're fan of the players. And they just say, oh, well, Jordan is the best. So he's talking, Jordan is the one who did it. It also speaks that the Bulls organization has lost its way. I think they used to be a class organization. I mean, when they were winning championships, and it seems like they just couldn't. As soon as like Jordan retired or left, they could not recover. And not only could they not recover, they're losing the classlessness. They're becoming classless. They're teams that, oh, we don't want this guy and he's not good and we don't want him anymore. And this was just another example of them just being who they were. You're not really part of the royalty, even though, that's what you want to be. Because, the Lakers, class, Boston, class, the Knicks. But when they talk about their Ring of Honor, class. And I don't, it just doesn't look like it anymore with the Bulls. And the Bulls are just Jordan. So, it's just classless. I hope they do something to make it special, but it was bad. Like you said, they had no reason to boo him. All the fans are like 50
They
years
ain't
old.
even watched it. Yeah, I'm like, you didn't even watch a game, man. They
Right.
played at Chicago Stadium. Okay. Is the
You
United Center still there? Okay, I don't even
Exactly.
know. I have no
You have
idea.
you have guys in their 20s who are booing. I'm like, what are you booing for?
So,
What
as
do
we
you
like to
know?
say in practice, fans of Chicago, just be better, man. Can we be better? So,
Yeah.
with that being said, we're going to move on to segment two. And when we get back, we're going to talk about all things men's college basketball on the Odd Coaches podcast. You don't boo the widow.
Why should student athletes use the CKA SAVE Project academic and athletic consulting services? Over the past 15 to 20 years, colleges, universities, professional sports teams, business organizations, and others have increased their use of consulting services to improve their decision-making processes and results. Over the same time, the athletic and academic landscape has changed for high school and college student athletes as the NCAA has raised initial academic eligibility requirements for student athletes while decreasing the number of transfer restrictions. Former college student athletes have noted that they were academic and athletically unprepared for the rigors of college. Let the CKA SAVE Project's close to 30 years of academic and athletic experience help guide student athletes to increase success as we work to help student athletes achieve the goal of obtaining a college degree. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. In segment two, let's talk about men's college basketball. And man, what a week. So let's go with the net rankings, Will. Houston is 1, Arizona's 2, Purdue is 3, BYU is still 4 in the net. Alabama's 5, Tennessee is 6, Auburn is 7, UConn is 8, UNC is 9. Welcome to the ACC. And Iowa State is 10. A couple of things we want to watch. Utah State has won 15 in a row. Grand Canyon U, Go Lopes, I am an alum, have won 13 straight. And Dayton is on a 10-game winning streak. So looking at the net this week, any thoughts, sir?
The cream is going to start a rise. The cream is going to rise to the top soon. We're getting close to February, which means we're getting close to conference tournaments, and they're already playing in conference each other. So yeah, it's going to start. It's going to start heating up. So it's good to see that even this, as we shift into the season, we're still seeing the solid teams. I mean, Houston, Arizona, Purdue, BYU. The teams that you mentioned. And they're real. They're real. They're not flake. They're not like the NCAA football where it's like, oh, he's number 5, and then 3 weeks later he's not even in it anymore because he lost 2 games. And this is look like the real deal. And I think there's a couple teams that may sneak in with 10. I know Iowa State is good, but they're beatable, and UNC is not the best. But yeah, we'll start and see as they start to shift and change, as they start to play interconferencely and get ready for the tournament. So getting excited, but that looks good for me. I don't see any changes for that ranking.
All right, so let's great segue. Let's talk about conference play being here. Texas A&M beat Kentucky. TCU beat Houston. TCU is very well coached, and please keep that in mind, fans, as you get your brackets in March. Coaching matters. Okay. New Mexico beat San Diego State. Washington State beat Arizona. West Virginia beat Texas. And I saw personally the SMU ECU game in person. I have friends and mentors on both coaching staffs. SMU won a tough Division I college conference game. So, what are the takeaways from that before I get Will's thoughts? You're playing a certain style of ball every night when you're in conference. But then when you get in the tournament, you don't know what you're going to get. So that's why Syracuse historically has done either well or poor, because if you don't play against that zone on a regular, you're going to have some problems. Or if you do play against that very, regular, you're not gonna attack it the same way. Talking about the styles of play every night, it's one of the reasons why George Mason in their 2006 run beat UConn, because it was a bunch of local guys playing a bunch of local guys, and I don't care. So if it was anybody else, it might have been something. But when you have familiarity, Villanova, Georgetown, 1985, so please keep that in mind. You also hope that whatever you're doing now is going to translate into March wins because the NCAA tournament is about playground rules. Check ball. If you win, you stay. You lose, you go home. But first, you got to get in the tournament, and the best way to do it is to win your conference tournament because they changed the rules this year, fans, that said if you win your regular season conference and lose your tournament, you're not automatically in the NIT. So you might not be a part of postseason, or you may be a part of the newly created postseason stuff that we'll talk about in future episodes. And everything is on a neutral site, but you hope it's close enough that your fans can drive to it and not make it a neutral site. Because again, when George Mason played UConn, they played in DC, and it was quite a partial Mason crowd. So with that being said, Will, what are you thinking about conference play right now?
One of the things that I remember, and obviously I can't equate it 1-to-1 when we were in high school. That's when practices get a little lighter. I remember practices start to get a little lighter. If you've got a good
coach.
Yep. Oh yeah. I hear that. We get, practices get a little lighter. You start to focus on certain things. And there was always little things that I always noticed that kind of stuck with me with coach. What we used to do is we would work on the team that we were going to play like next, but we would also work on the team that we were like the big games. Like we'd say, okay, we're playing Richmond Montgomery. This is what they like to do. Let's work on it. I want to work on it. Hey, guys, I want to do a couple things to work on what Blake's does. I want to do some stuff for Magruder. So that kind of will balance the thing for the tournament. I mean, when you can start saying, okay, guys, this is what we're going to do in conference. We know what we're going to see. We've been doing it for those of you who are juniors who have been here. There's nothing going to change. You're going to see, what they like to run. But next 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe an hour after practice or after we finish that up, let's talk about some things that we might play. Like, remember when we played Alabama? And we, what did we struggle with that? What did we played with, the American Conference, and we struggled with this. So the good coaches will have them prepared, and like teams like, when they like Houston, I'm not worried about them losing to TCU right now. I think they're going to pick up. I think they're getting ready for their energy to push to the tournament, which is what you need. You don't want to kill your legs, but that's pretty much the takeaway that I remember, Coach. So the good ones, like you said, the cream is going to rise to the top, and they know the way to do it, and they have a system, and they'll implement it, and they'll be ready to go around March.
And I love that you mentioned game planning for specific opponents. And one of the things, I've been in a lot of gyms recently, no jokes. But guys who aren't playing have to pay attention because you just never know what's going to happen. And, the intricacies of game planning and attention to detail is a big deal. So if we can get that message across to young players, pay attention, watch some film. Okay. Don't just watch the game, watch some film. But with that being said, when we get back, we're going to cover the women's game. A lot of chalk, if you will. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, we're going to talk about the women's game, and man, it's different than the parity of the men's game. Women's net rankings: South Carolina, Stanford, Texas, UConn, UCLA, Iowa, Utah, Kansas State, North Carolina State, and Notre Dame, all big schools. All right. So, fans, here's some teams that are on extended winning streaks. Albany, the Great Danes, 10-game winning streak. Kansas State, 11-game winning streak. UConn, don't count them out yet, 10-game winning streak. Iowa, 14-game winning streak. When do they come to Maryland, by the way? I'm curious about that, unless they've already come. Fairfield, 12-game winning streak. Murray State, the Racers, 10-game winning streak. UCLA, 14-game winning streak. South Carolina's on a 15-game winning streak. LSU is on a 14-game winning streak. And their first matchup at LSU, January 25th. Get your popcorn ready for that one. And Gonzaga is on a 10-game winning streak. My story of the week, Paige Beckers. She's thinking about coming back, Will. And she's had some injuries. And I was thinking, if Paige was on the men's side and she had this much hype and this much this and this much that, it wouldn't even be a thought to stay in. But because of the WNBA salary, because of the coverage of women's college basketball compared to the WNBA, and several other factors like NIL, why rush? So if you were able, and I always like to go to you because you're the practical guy, that's why you were the captain. If you were going to advise Paige Buckets, would you say, come on back to UConn for one more year, or we've done all we can in college? Because one of the other things before you respond is she still hasn't had a chance to play with the players she wanted to play with because of injuries and things. So any advice for Paige?
I would never tell an athlete, if you want to win, if you want a championship, if that's what you're chasing, or if you're chasing something internally that you want to do something, go for it. Go for it. Like you said, there's no reason to know something to put pressure on her. I think the good thing is she may be doubting herself. I think she in herself. I mean, she knows she can ball, but injuries kind of hampered her entire career. And in your back of your mind, you're asking yourself, man, like, can my body take it? I would tell her, whatever decision you make is going to be your decision. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Either way, if you want to get a degree, if you want to go, because you'll get money. You're going to the WNBA. You're one of the top prospects. But we're seeing a lot more of that. We're seeing women and guys who are able to go to the pros, who are thinking like, hey, maybe, I'm making a good amount of money right now and life's good. And, my mama did say,
go to the dining hall.
or maybe my girlfriend. I mean, oh man, I love my girlfriend. She's a sophomore. So, how am I going to, manage that if I go to the NBA or the WNBA, and how am I going to do that? I understand it, unfortunately, some guys in the NCAA, especially who play men's basketball, not all, but some, are in a situation that they are the breadwinner. I'm not necessarily, I know that's probably true with the women's side as well, but it's not really as, pushed out. I don't see a lot of ESPN stories say, oh, well, Paige Buchers had to pay for her parents and she, took an NIL, stuff like that. So it's different. But long story short, she has options. And she should know that she has options and that all the options are good. Yeah. So take your time. And when your heart finds where you want to go, make that decision. It's going to be the right one.
Yeah, run your own race, Paige. Run your own race. So as we close, this week we celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As a historian. A lot of love for MLK. And one of my favorite quotes from him is, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And what do you need to serve? You need a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. And with that said, this year, the CKA Save Project is embarking on a capital campaign to increase its annual budget so that we can continue to serve as independent advocates for student athletes around the country. We're planning a formal rollout around President's Day weekend, so stay tuned for more information. But Will, before we close, any thoughts you'd like to share as we get ready for our huge capital campaign about the work we're doing?
Oh yeah. The work we do at CKA is great. A lot of kids could use this information. More importantly, the adults could use this information. It's something that I push even with friends who have kids in college and they have kids in high school. And I say, hey, my coach has a book that talks about finding the balance between being a student athlete and a student and being an athlete. And a lot of them want to read it. And I wish I send them to the Amazon. I think the Amazon, right? We're on Amazon.
We are on directly from the CKA Save Project website.
Okay,
we want to know the work we do, fans, is personal. And for us, Amazon's great and Enjoy Prime, but we're a personal organization, and that's why everything kind of goes through that so we can continue to measure and monitor your progress. But again, I appreciate those kind words. And with that, stay tuned. Again, President's Day weekend, we're going to roll these items out, and we're looking forward to expanding our growth. That's why you keep seeing me in different locales and so forth, because we're having meetings with people who are like-minded and want to help. So on behalf of Team Captain for Life, Will Cotton, Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, and we'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.